ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضاه. Last lesson we began الدرس الثالث, the third lesson. And the third lesson is split into two parts. So we covered the first part and we had 4 pieces of homework. So we're going to begin by doing those 4 pieces of homework now at Tamarin, the exercises. And then inshallah we're going to cover the second part of الدرس الثالث. The first exercise اقرأ واكتب مع ضبط أواخر الكلمات, testing our reading skills with the addition of the rule that we took. When al is added to the noun, then it affects the ending by taking away tanween. So the first word, masjidun. Masjidun, no alif lam, so masjidun. And when alif lam is added, al-masjidu. Al-masjidu. So masjidun, a masjid. Al-masjidu, the masjid. It becomes specific, definite. Definite, indefinite. Okay. Al-ma'u. Ma'un. Al-baytu. Al-baytu. Next. Babun. Babun. Qalamun. Al-qalamu. Al-qalamu. Al-kalbu. Kalbun. Kalbun. Qamisun. Qamisun. Waladun. Al-hajaru. Al-hajaru. Al-waladu. Himarun. Al-himaru. Al-hisanu. Al-hisanu. And finally, hisanun. So masjidun, a masjid. Al-masjidu, the masjid. Al-ma, the water. Ma'un, water. Al-baytu, the house. Babun, a door. Qalamun, a pen. Al-qalamu, the pen. Al-kalbu, the dog. Kalbun, a dog. Qamisun, a shirt. Waladun, a boy. Al-hajaru, the rock. Al-waladu, the boy. Himarun, a donkey. Al-himaru, the donkey. Al-hisanu, the horse. Hisanun, a horse. This was exercise number 1. Exercise number 2 is اقرأ واكتب. So the first one says المكتب. المكتب مكسور. المكتب مكسور. المكتب مكسور. This means the desk is broken. This is a sentence, complete sentence. المكتب مكسور. The desk is broken. This is number 1. طيب, number 2. Number 2 says المدرس جديد. المدرس جديد. The teacher is new. Number 3. القميص وسخ. القميص وسخ. The shirt is dirty. Number 4. اللبن when the shadda goes on the second lam. اللبن بارد. اللبن بارد. The milk is cold. The milk or the yogurt is cold. Number 5. المسجد مفتوح. المسجد مفتوح. المسجد مفتوح. The masjid, the mosque, is open. Number 6. الحجر كبير. The rock is big. Number 7 says اللبن بارد. So we already took this here. اللبن بارد, the milk is cold. والماء حار. والماء حار. Number 8. الإمام جالس. والمدرس واقف. Should I write it here? Okay, I'll write it here. واقف. والمدرس واقف. الإمام جالس. The imam is sitting والمدرس and the teacher is standing. Number 9. القمر بعيد. القمر, the moon, is بعيد, is far away. Number 10. المنديل نظيف. المنديل نظيف. The handkerchief is clean. This was exercise number 2. Exercise number 3 now. Exercise number 3 says املأ الفراغ فيما يلي بوضع الكلمة المناسبة من الكلمات التالية. We need to fill in the gap by placing the most appropriate word, and he's given us 6 words. Okay. Number 1. الحجر. الحجر, the most appropriate word to complete a sentence would be ثقيل. الحجر ثقيل. Number 2. الباب. The most appropriate word is مفتوح. So الحجر ثقيل, the rock is heavy. الباب مفتوح, the door is open. مفتوح. Number 3. القمر جميل. The moon is beautiful. Number 4. الورق. the paper or the leaf. الورق الورق خفيف is light in weight. خفيف. Then we have المنديل, the handkerchief. المنديل. المنديل وسخ is dirty. The handkerchief is dirty. Then we have number 6. اللبن. اللبن حار. حار. The yogurt or the milk is hot. This is exercise number 3. One more exercise to do, and it's the opposite. املأ الفراغ فيما يلي بوضع كلمة مناسبة. We need to fill in the gap by putting the most appropriate word. However, this time they've given us the second word. They want us to fill in the first word so that the sentence is complete. Okay, so number 1, نظيف. What goes with نظيف? Something that is نظيف, clean. I could say القميص, the shirt is clean. القميص نظيف. Number 2, something that goes with مكسور, something is broken. I could say القلم. You've taken the sentence already. القلم, the pen is broken. Okay, number 3 is بارد. Something is بارد. I could say الماء. الماء, the water is بارد, is cold. Number 4, something is near, قريب. I could say المسجد. The masjid. المسجد قريب. The masjid is close by, is near. Okay, that's 4. Number 5 says something is far. البيت. I could use البيت بعيد. البيت بعيد. The house is far. Number 6, واقف. Something is standing or someone is standing. I could say the horse. Let's say the horse. الحصان واقف. The horse is standing. Number 7, something is sitting or someone is sitting. جالس. I could say the boy. الولد جالس. Number 8, something is big. I could say the rock. الحجر كبير. الحجر كبير. The rock is big. Something is old. Something is old. Maybe the book. الكتاب قديم. The book is old. Number 10, something is new. I could say the door. It's a new door. الباب جديد. الباب جديد. So 4 pieces of homework, all of which related to part 1 of lesson 3. Okay, so in today's class, we said we're going to take part 2 of lesson 3, the second part of lesson 3. Part 1 we covered last lesson, and that starts here all the way through till here. And part 2 is going to start from here and end where this lesson ends, over here. So this is what we're going to cover in today's class. The theory for part 2 starts here. This is what we're going to be learning. This is the homework. So once we've learned this, we're going to set this as homework. This is going to be homework number 1, homework number 2, homework number 3. So 3 pieces of homework. Inshallah, we're going to explain that once we're done with today's theory. Okay. In today's class, the author, he wants to teach us al-huruf al-qamariyah wal-huruf al-shamsiyah. Al-huruf, letters, is the plural of harfun. Harfun is singular. Al-huruf is the plural, the letters. Al-qamariyah, qamar. Qamar means the moon. Wal-huruf, letters, shams. Shams means sun. Al-shamsiyah. So, al-huruf al-qamariyah, the lunar letters or the moon letters, and al-huruf al-shamsiyah, the sun letters or the solar letters. This is what we're going to be learning, inshallah. Okay. The letters in the Arabic alphabet, in total, there are 29 letters. There are 29 letters in the Arabic alphabet. Alif, ba, ta, all the way till ya. And all of these 29 letters, it's possible for them to come at the beginning of words. So all of the words, they start with these 29 letters, except for alif, the first letter in the alphabet. Alif, this letter, there is no word which starts with alif. And the reason for that is because this alif is vowelless, it's sakin. And it's not possible to begin any Arabic word or to pronounce any Arabic word with a vowelless letter. It's not possible. For this reason, there's no word which starts with alif, because it is sakin. So if we minus this 1 from the 29, we're left with 28 letters. So there are 28 possibilities for words in the Arabic language to begin with. 28 possibilities. Yani one of these 28 letters, you have words beginning with them. These 28 letters now are equally divided into 2. 28 divided by 2 equals 14. So we have 14 letters on this side and 14 letters on this side. Okay. The 14 letters on this side, we're going to name them al-huruf al-hurufu al-shamsiyah. Al-huruf al-shamsiyah. And the 14 letters on this side, we're going to call them al-huruf al-qamariyah. Al-huruf al-qamariyah. So we have 14 huruf shamsiyah and 14 huruf al-qamariyah. Okay. We said there are 14 and there are 14. To know the letters that come on this side and to know the letters that come on this side, the easiest method is to memorize one, and whatever falls into that category, then we know that it's from that category. And whatever is not from that category, then we know it is from the other category. And the easiest way, I believe, is to memorize the letters that are from this category. The huruf al-shamsiyah, it's easier to memorize the huruf al-shamsiyah than to memorize the huruf al-qamariyah. And the reason for that is, if we count the huruf al-shamsiyah, we find that there are 14. But 10 of these 14 come in order, in the order that we learn them. The first one is dal. Dal, then dhal, then ra, then zai, then sin, then sheen, then sad, then ضاد, then طا, then ظا. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 which come in order. So we're left with 4. Okay. The 4, there's 2 at the beginning which are ta and tha. And 2 at the end which are lam and noon. So this is why this one is easier, because we have dal, dhal, ra, za, sin, shin, sad, dal, ta, dha. This is how you learn the Arabic alphabet. They come in an order. And part of that order is these 10. So you have 10 there already. All that's left is to learn ta, tha, and lam, noon. Ta, tha, and lam, noon. From dal, you count 10, and it will take you to dha. Dal, dhal, ra, za, sin, shin, sad, dal, ta, dha. And then lam, noon, and at the beginning ta, tha. 14 in total. So whatever is not from these 14 letters falls into the category of al-huruf al-qamariyah. I think this is the easiest way to memorize the letters of the huruf al-shamsiyah, and in turn, once you've memorized these, you know which ones are huruf al-qamariyah. So this is in terms of knowing which ones are huruf al-qamariyah and which ones are huruf al-shamsiyah. So what is this categorization based on? This categorization is based on the pronunciation of al. This lam here. Al that we've been taking. Al, the definite article, which is added to the beginning of the noun and it makes the tanween go away. Remember this al? In terms of pronouncing this lam in al, there are 2 ways of pronouncing it. So this lam is divided into 2. This lam can either be lam al-qamariyah in terms of pronunciation. Let me write lam al-shamsiyah first. Lam al-shamsiyati, or lam al-qamariyah. Lam al-qamariyah. This lam will either be lam al-shamsiyah or lam al-qamariyah. This is in terms of pronunciation. When is it going to be shamsiyah? It's going to be shamsiyah if the letter that's coming after it is from the shamsiyah letters. If we have a shamsiyah letter that comes after this lam, then the lam will also be shamsiyah. But if we have a qamariyah letter coming after this lam, then the lam will also be qamariyah. So this is in terms of pronunciation. If the lam has a shamsiyah letter after it, it's going to be shamsiyah. And if the lam has a qamariyah letters, one of the 14 letters, after it, then it's going to be qamariyah. So what is shamsiyah and what is qamariyah? Let's begin explaining what qamariyah is, because it's more easier. And in fact, this is what was taught in the beginning of lesson 3. So part 1 of lesson 3, we actually studied qamariyah without even explaining it. What is qamariyah? Qamariyah or lam al-qamariyah is when you pronounce the lam clearly with a sukoon. It's when you pronounce the lam clearly with a sukoon. When you say al, the lam is pronounced clearly with a sukoon. This is when the lam is qamariyah. When is the lam going to be qamariyah? If it's followed by one of the 14 letters of the qamariyah, huruf al-qamariyah, those which are not part of this. So for example, ba, we took the word babun. Bab is not part of these 14, so it must be on the other side, babun. If al is prefixed to the word bab, if we write it here, al, how are we going to pronounce the lam? Are we going to read the lam clearly? Are we going to say al-babu? Al-babu? Yes, we are. Why? Why is the lam pronounced clearly? The lam is qamari, pronounced clearly. Why? Because we have ba coming after it, which is from the huruf al-qamariyah. So the lam is pronounced clearly with a sukoon. Al-babu. Another example that we have taken is mim. Mim is not from the letters that are huruf al-shamsiyah, so it's on this side. The word ma'un. If we bring alif lam before it, we're going to pronounce the lam clearly Why? Because mim is from the huruf al-qamariyah. So we say al-ma'u, al-ma'u. So this is something that we've taken even though it has not been explained. We took it in part 1 of lesson 3. But in part 2 of lesson 3, and this is what we're taking, the author, he brings the examples here. What happens when the word has alif lam before it? If the alif lam comes before it, we don't pronounce the lam clearly. We don't say al-najmu. We don't say al-rajulu, al-talibu. Why is that? Because this is from the second category. And this is part 2. This is what we need to learn in this lesson. This is from the second category. The second category is the huruf al-shamsiyah. The ones that we've just mentioned here. Huruf al-shamsiyah, if they come after this lam, then the lam is going to be from the lam al-shamsiyah. The lam is going to be lam al-shamsiyah because of the huruf al-shamsiyah coming after it. So what happens if the huruf al-shamsiyah come after the lam? How is the lam going to be pronounced? The lam is going to be merged into the letter after it. The lam is going to be merged into the letter after it. So we're always going to write the lam like this. Al is always going to be written like this. But when it's lam al-qamariyah, we put a sukoon on the lam. When it's shamsiyah, we don't put a sukoon on the lam. It remains like this. Instead, the letter after is going to have a shadda. The letter after is going to have this thing. It's called a shadda. So we might have dal, for example. Okay. Example, dikun. The word dikun. Let's use the word dikun as an example. Rooster. The word dikun, the dal is from the huruf al-shamsiyah. So the lam is going to be from the lam al-shamsiyah. It's going to be pronounced as a shamsi. Lam al-shamsiyah. Meaning it's not going to be pronounced with a lam sukoon. It's not going to be pronounced clearly. What happens with the shamsi letters is that the lam, in terms of pronunciation, the lam changes into whatever letter comes after it. We change the lam in terms of pronunciation. This is in terms of pronunciation. We don't pronounce the lam. What happens to the lam? The lam is changed into whatever letter comes after it. So here, it's going to be like this. In terms of pronunciation, we always write the lam, yeah? In terms of writing, it's always going to be written as lam. But in terms of pronunciation, this is what happens. So there's a dal after it, okay? So the lam al-shamsiyah is going to turn into a dal with a sukoon. Ad-di-ku. This is what happens to it in terms of pronunciation. Ad-di-ku. If it was ra, rajulun, for example, rajulun, it will be ar-rajulu. Ar-rajulu. In terms of writing, it's always going to be written like this. The lam is always going to be written. So what happens here? We have a dal with a sukoon and a dal with a haraka. Haraka is a vowel, fatha, kasra, or dhamma. We have a ra with a sukoon and a ra with a haraka, fatha, kasra, or dhamma. So here it has fatha. Whenever we have two of the same letter following one another, and the first of them is sakin, vowelless, and the second has a haraka, fatha, or kasra, or dhamma, this equals one letter. This is represented with one letter with a shadda. Da, or du, or di. So this dal and this dal is joined together and written as one dal with a shadda. And this shadda is going to have a kasra. So this is what happens. Ad-diku. In terms of pronunciation, the lam changes into a dal. Yeah? And then the dal is joined into the next dal and it becomes a shadda. Ad-diku. It's written like this, but it's pronounced like this. Ad-diku. Ar-rajulu. And the same for this ra. This ra and this ra equals shadda. Ar-rajulu. Ad-diku. And you can apply the examples for both on the word shams and qamar. And this is why these letters were referred to as shamsiyah and qamariyah, because the word shams itself is from the huruf al-shamsiyah. So whenever al it comes before it, it's not pronounced. Rather, the letter after, which is the sheen, is going to be pronounced with a shadda. Ash-shams. Because this is, sheen is from the huruf al-shamsiyah. So the naming also reflects the rule. The naming, the lam is pronounced clearly. Why? Because qaf is from the huruf al-qamariyah. So this is why it's called huruf al-qamariyah and huruf al-shamsiyah. Ash-shams, the solar letters, we don't pronounce the lam. What happens to the lam? It gets merged into the sheen. The sheen becomes a shadda. Huruf al-qamariyah, the lam is pronounced clearly. So this is what we're learning in this lesson. Okay, so if we've understood the rule, the theory of this part of the lesson, then we should be able, inshallah, to read the examples without any problems. So we're going to read the huruf al-qamariyah first. So remember the huruf al-qamariyah, we're going to pronounce the lam clearly, and then we're going to read the letter after it with a haraka, without shadda. Hamza, al-abu. Al-abu means the father. Ba, al-babu, the door. Jim, al-jannatu. Jannah means paradise, so it can mean garden. Ha, al-himaru, the donkey. Kha, al-khubzu means bread, the bread. Ain, al-ainu, the eye, person's eye. Or it can also mean the source of a river, a spring. Al-ainu. طيب. Ghain, al-ghada'u, lunch, the lunch. Lunch. Fa, al-famu, mouth, the mouth. Qaf, al-qamaru, the moon. Kaf, al-kalbu, the dog. Mim, al-ma'u, the water. Waw, al-waladu, the boy. Ha, al-hawa'u, the air. And the final one, ya, al-yadu, the hand. Now we move on to the list for the huruf al-shamsiyah. And the huruf al-shamsiyah, the lam is not read. Instead, the letter after is read with a shadda. The letter after is read with a shadda. And we did say that it's easier to memorize the huruf al-shamsiyah than to memorize the huruf al-qamariyah. And the reason is because we have dal, dal, ra, za, sin, sheen, sad, dad, ta, dha. 10 of them coming one after the other. All you have to memorize is ta, tha, and lam, noon. Okay, ta, at-tajiru. Tha, ath-thawbu. At-tajiru, the merchant. Ath-thawbu, a piece of cloth or garment. Dal, ad-diku, the rooster. Dhal, al-dhahabu. Dhahab is gold, the gold. Ra, al-rajulu, the man. Za, al-zahratu. Zahra is a flower. Sin, as-samaku, the fish. Sheen, ash-shamsu, the sun. Sad, as-sadru. Sadr is the chest, the chest. Dad, al-dayfu. Dayf is a guest. Ta, al-talibu. Talib is the student. Dha, al-dhahru. Dhahr is the opposite of sadr. So this is the back and this is the chest. Lam, al-lahmu. Lahm is meat. Noon, an-najmu, star. Huruf al-qamariyah, huruf al-shamsiyah. طيب. I would suggest that once this is understood, that you begin with this homework. Do this first, this homework first. اقرأ الكلمات الآتية واكتبها مراعيا قواعد نطق الحروف القمرية والشمسية. اقرأ الكلمات. Read the words, these words. الآتية. Read the words following, the following words. واكتبها, and write them. مراعيا, while paying attention to قواعد, the principles. نطق الحروف القمرية والشمسية, the principles concerning how the huruf al-qamariyah and huruf al-shamsiyah are to be pronounced. So are you going to say ab-baytu or al-baytu? Are you going to read the lam clearly, or are you going to place a shadda on the letter after the lam and say ab-baytu? Ab-baytu is shamsiyah, al-baytu is qamariyah. Which one is it? Remember, we memorized ta, tha, and then dal, dhal, up to dha, and then lam, noon. So those are the huruf al-shamsiyah. Are they part of the huruf al-shamsiyah? Ba is not from the huruf al-shamsiyya, it's from the huruf al-qamariyya. That means the lam has to be pronounced clearly with a sukoon. So we say al-baytu. And this exercise, the differentiation between the huruf al-qamariyya and huruf al-shamsiyya, is going to be very easy for people who recite the Quran much. Those who recite the Quran a lot, it's going to help them in many ways when they learn the Arabic language. So I advise everyone to try and memorize as much Quran and read as much Quran as possible. So this is the first homework. Homework number 2 is here. We need to read these words. This is homework number 2. Then we have tamareen, exercises. So this is homework number 3. This is homework number 4. Homework number 3 says اقرأ واكتب مع ضبط أواخر الكلمات. Read and write with correct vowelization or with vowelization of the last the endings of the words. So the same thing. It's testing you whether you are able to identify the words that end with tanween from the words that do not end with tanween. So al, whether it's qamariyya or shamsiyya, it does the same job in terms of taking away the tanween. طيب. Then here املأ الفراغ فيما يلي بوضع كلمة مناسبة. You need to bring a suitable word to complete the sentence. And the final piece of homework is اختر. اختر is choose. كلمة, a word. Choose a word من القائمة. قائمة is list. با, the list which is named با, this list. اختر كلمة, choose a word from this list. تناسب الكلمة التي في القائمة همزة, which is appropriate or suitable or matching to the word that is in the list hamza, labeled hamza. Choose a word in the list labeled ba which matches the word in, or a suitable word in the list hamza. So at-talibu, for example, at-talibu, I would say maridun. Maridun means sick. Al-kalimat al-jadida, the new words. Hulwun. Hulwun means sweet, something tasting sweet. Hulwun. Maridun. Maridun means sick. Ad-dukkanu is a grocery shop. Shop. Ghaniyun, rich. Ghaniyun, rich. Tawilun means tall. Tawilun, tall. Faqirun is the opposite of ghaniyun. Ghaniyun means rich, then faqirun means poor. Qasirun is the opposite of tawilun. If tawilun means tall, then qasirun means short. At-tuffahu, apple, or the apple. At-tuffahu. So these 8 are new words for part 2 of lesson 3. We stop here inshallah, and hopefully, I hope everyone does their homework. You have enough time inshallah to do the homework, and you'll see inshallah when we do the next lesson, once we do the homework, you see that it takes around 15 minutes or less. So 15 minutes over 3 or 4 days that we have is not much. It's not much. We need to try and memorize the words and do the homework inshallah. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.